Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you are gearing up for those ICAI exams, you've literally just struck gold. Consider this session your ultimate textbook-replacing exam revision for Standard on Auditing 230, Audit Documentation. We're going to cut through the noise and cover exactly what the examiners want to see. We are taking all those dense, heavy paragraphs and translating them into clear, conceptual takeaways. Seriously, you won't even need to go back to the textbook for conceptual understanding after this. We are going to lock this information into your brain for good.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's the blueprint for today's session. 1. The core of SA 230. 2. Creating bulletproof documentation. 3. Ownership and confidentiality rules. 4. Timelines and files. And finally, 5. Your ICAI exam cheat sheet.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the core of SA 230.
I really want you to think of audit documentation kind of like a master detective's case file. In the world of auditing, there is a golden rule. If an important matter is only discussed orally and not written down, well, as far as the examiner or a court of law is concerned, it simply didn't happen. Oral explanations alone absolutely do not constitute adequate audit documentation. Audit documentation, which you'll also hear referred to all the time as working papers, is the hard, indisputable record of the audit procedures you performed, the audit evidence you obtained, and the conclusions you reached. Whether this whole thing is maintained in a physical folder, a random electronic file, or fancy digital audit software, this forms the absolute basis for the auditor's report. It's your definitive proof that the audit was planned and performed in strict accordance with standards on auditing and all applicable legal requirements.
So, why do we actually put ourselves through all this paperwork? Let's separate the what from the why to help you memorize this fast. First off, it supports the auditor's opinion by proving you actually gathered sufficient, appropriate evidence. Second, it demonstrates your compliance with the SAs, the Companies Act, and ethical requirements. Third, it facilitates planning for future audits. Fourth, it enables the partners to supervise and review the audit work. Fifth is accountability. It acts as your legal evidence in case of any messy disputes. And finally, it supports both internal and external quality control inspections.
Moving right along to Section 2, Creating Bulletproof Audit Documentation.
How does an auditor actually build this bulletproof case? Well, it's a step-by-step process. First, you've got to document the nature of your procedures. Like, what exactly did you do? Was it a bank confirmation, an inventory count? Second, the timing. When did you do it? For example, verifying that inventory specifically on March 31st. Third, the extent. How much work was actually performed? Did you test 150 invoices, or was it 75 debtors? Fourth, you document the results in significant matters. Actually, let's pause on that for a second. A significant matter isn't just a minor typo, right? In ICAI terms, it means matters that give rise to significant risks or circumstances that cause you to revise your previous risk assessments. It is the big stuff that could literally change the audit opinion. And fifth, your professional judgments and final conclusions. Why did you decide an inventory provision was adequate? Every single step must be perfectly logged.
Now, what's really interesting about this, and pay close attention because examiners love this, is the experienced auditor test. Your documentation must be so incredibly thorough and crystal clear that an experienced auditor who has had absolutely zero previous connection with this specific audit can pick up your file and instantly understand the nature, timing, and extent of your work, the results you got, and the conclusions you reached. If a total outsider cannot piece together your logic, yeah, your documentation has failed the test.
That brings us to Section 3, Ownership and Confidentiality Rules.
Okay, watch out because there is a classic exam trap hiding right here. Working papers are the property of the auditor, period, full stop. They are not the property of the client. Students get tricked all the time into thinking that just because the client paid for the audit, they somehow own the files. That is 100% incorrect. The client has absolutely no automatic right to demand your working papers. That documentation belongs entirely to you.
But, with that absolute ownership comes a massive responsibility, and that is strict confidentiality. You can't just share these working papers with anyone on the street. There are only 4 specific exceptions where you're actually allowed to disclose this information. 1, when it is strictly required by law. Think of a court subpoena. 2, when you have the explicit, clear consent of the client. 3, during a formal peer review or quality review, like one conducted by the ICAI board. And 4, as required by professional standards. Unless one of those 4 conditions is met, your lips and your files are completely sealed.
All right, Section 4, Timelines and File Types.
60. Under SQC1, which is the standard on quality control, the auditor has exactly 60 days after the date of the auditor's report to assemble the final audit file. Not 2 months, not 90 days, exactly 60 days. And once this file is completed, you must not delete or discard documentation before the end of its retention period. If any administrative changes absolutely must be made after this 60-day point, you have to document exactly who made the change, when they made it, why they made it, and who reviewed it.
And what exactly is that retention period? 7. Audit documentation should ordinarily be retained for 7 years from the date of the auditor's report, or longer if a specific law requires it. Get this rhythm stuck in your head right now. 60 days to assemble, 7 years to retain. 60 to assemble, 7 to retain.
And this brilliantly illustrates how all those retained documents are actually organized. It's a strict structural filing system divided into 2 main categories. First, the permanent audit file. This holds information that's useful for many years and is only updated occasionally. Think the Memorandum of Association, Articles of Association, long-term agreements, or core accounting policies. Meanwhile, the current audit file contains evidence relating only to the current year's audit, and it is updated every single time. This is where you put this year's trial balance, debtor confirmations, and current working papers. Knowing the exact conceptual difference between these 2 files, that is an incredibly easy way to secure marks.
Finally, Section 5. Your ICAI exam cheat sheet.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that when a question on SA 230 pops up, the examiner is literally scanning your paper for exact phrases. You must use terms like working papers, the experienced auditor test, documenting nature, timing, and extent, highlighting significant matters and recording professional judgments. State clearly, assembling in 60 days, retaining for 7 years, and that ultimate rule, files are the property of the auditor. If you weave these precise keywords into your answers, you are going to score maximum marks for sure.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to cement SA 230 permanently in your mind. Imagine handing over your audit file to a complete stranger in your field. Could an experienced auditor truly understand your working papers? If the answer is yes, you've done your job perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me for this masterclass. Keep this conceptual framework in your back pocket, and best of luck with your revision.